Welcome back to Royal Vault UK, where we uncover the hidden stories, royal rivalries, and untold moments that shape Britain's most powerful dynasty. On a crisp November morning, inside the ancient walls of Windsor Castle, history unfolded once again. Before the gaze of King Charles III, a man known not for his bloodline, but for his devotion and service, knelt in solemn respect. When he rose, the title before his name had changed forever. He was no longer simply David Beckham, he was Sir David Beckham. It was a moment that united sport, celebrity, and monarchy in a single act of grace, a reminder that the crown still has the power to elevate ordinary men into living symbols of Britain's pride. But behind the golden light and applause, this knighthood carried a deeper meaning, a statement from King Charles about the kind of legacy he intends to build. Why now? Why Beckham? And what does this moment reveal about the modern face of the British monarchy? Tonight, we step behind the ceremony, into the corridors of Windsor, to uncover the story of how a footballer became a knight and how that simple act shook the image of the royal family across the world. To understand the weight of this moment, we must return to the beginning long before titles, fame, and royal invitations. David Robert Joseph Beckham was born in the eastern streets of London, far from the palaces and privilege of Britain's aristocracy. His childhood was ordinary, marked by dreams that seemed almost unreachable. Yet even as a boy, he carried within him a quiet discipline, the same quality that would one day earn him respect from the most traditional institution in the land, the British monarchy. From the muddy pitches of Leytonstone to the bright lights of Old Trafford, Beckham's journey was more than a story of sporting triumph. It was the tale of a young man who came to embody national identity. Every free kick, every victory, every heartbreak on the pitch reflected Britain itself, proud, resilient, and sometimes divided. By the late 1990s, Beckham had become a cultural phenomenon. His marriage to pop star Victoria Adams, better known as Posh Spice, turned the pair into a global sensation, a fusion of glamour, fame, and family that fascinated the public. Yet behind the spotlight, there was always a sense of duty. Beckham's loyalty to his team, his country, and his role as a father gave him a reputation of integrity, something deeply valued by the royal family. In the decades that followed, as Britain changed and the monarchy evolved, Beckham remained a constant figure of unity. He represented what many saw as the best of modern Britain, talented yet humble, worldly yet devoted to home. He supported countless charities, served as a UNICEF ambassador, and used his influence not for personal gain, but to inspire service and compassion. It was perhaps inevitable that his path would cross with that of the crown. He met King Charles on several occasions, often through charity work and public service. In private, palace sources describe their rapport as one of mutual respect. Charles admired Beckham's longevity and dedication. Beckham, in turn, admired the king's lifelong commitment to duty. For years, speculation had lingered. Would Beckham ever receive the honor that so many believed he deserved? Each time a new honors list was announced, the question resurfaced. But the answer remained the same, not yet. Rumors suggested complications, whispers from within the system, and the lingering shadow of old controversies that had delayed his recognition. But everything changed in the king's recent birthday honors list. Charles, now well into his reign, sought to define what a modern monarch should celebrate. Not merely lineage, but legacy. Not birthright, but contribution. And there, among knights and dames of service, appeared one name that captured both tradition and transformation: David Beckham. The morning of the ceremony was serene, yet charged with quiet anticipation. Windsor Castle, the fortress of kings and queens, stood gleaming beneath a pale autumn Sunday. Within its stone halls, the air carried a sense of reverence, of continuity, of history, unfolding once again. As the royal standard fluttered above the round tower, David Beckham arrived, dressed immaculately in a tailored morning suit, his posture calm, but his eyes betraying the weight of the moment. It was here, in the grandeur of the Waterloo Chamber, where monarchs have knighted soldiers, poets, and statesmen for centuries, that Beckham would kneel before his king. Palace insiders described the atmosphere as both intimate and monumental. The ceremony was not public. Only a select few were invited. Among them were senior royal aides, representatives from sporting institutions, and members of Beckham's family. Victoria Beckham, standing poised in elegant black, held back tears as her husband took his place before the throne. When King Charles stepped forward, there was a hush. His ceremonial sword, the same used in countless honors throughout royal history, gleamed under the chandeliers. With a calm voice, he spoke the ancient words of investiture, touching the flat blade upon Beckham's shoulder. "Arise, Sir David Beckham." In that instant, decades of discipline, devotion, and public service crystallized into a single gesture, a recognition not just of athletic talent, but of character. Beckham rose, visibly moved, his eyes shimmering with restrained emotion. But behind this royal grace lay a deeper layer, one of symbolism and quiet tension. For some within the palace, Beckham's knighthood marked a significant shift in the monarchy's direction. Traditionally, the crown's highest honors had been reserved for figures of politics, military, or classical arts. Sport, though beloved by the people, was rarely treated with the same reverence. Yet King Charles, known for his determination to modernize the monarchy, chose Beckham deliberately. According to royal correspondence, the decision was not made lightly. There had been debate, even resistance, among senior advisors, some of whom argued that Beckham's celebrity image was too commercial, too modern, too far from the aristocratic mold of knighthood. But Charles saw something different, a man whose journey embodied service, perseverance, and national unity, values the monarchy desperately needed to emphasize in an age of scrutiny. Reports from Windsor suggest that the king's personal admiration for Beckham played a crucial role. Over the years, Beckham had quietly supported royal causes, attending charity events, visiting hospitals, and advocating for youth programs under the prince's trust. He had never sought publicity for these gestures. That humility, said one palace aide, spoke louder than any title. The ceremony itself was brief, yet deeply symbolic. The press captured the moment Beckham knelt, head bowed, before the king. But what cameras could not show was the emotion that followed the soft exchange of words between the two men, said to be heartfelt and sincere. Charles reportedly thanked Beckham for his years of service to the country. Beckham, his voice unsteady, replied simply, "It's been the honor of my life to serve." Beyond the castle walls, the reaction was immediate and overwhelming. Across Britain, television screens showed the image of Beckham rising as Sir David. Newspapers hailed it as a knighthood for the people. Social media flooded with admiration from former teammates, from soldiers, from citizens who had grown up watching him play. But not everyone was united in praise. Some critics questioned the timing, suggesting that the honor served a larger purpose, a distraction amid ongoing royal controversies. Others argued that the monarchy was blurring the line between public service and celebrity. Yet in truth, that tension between tradition and modernity is precisely what King Charles sought to confront. By honoring Beckham, the king was not just recognizing a man, he was redefining what it means to serve Britain in the 21st century. Inside the palace, whispers spoke of pride and perhaps a touch of rivalry. Prince William himself, a sports enthusiast and longtime admirer of Beckham's charitable work, reportedly expressed his support, calling the honor well-deserved. Some insiders suggested that William saw in Beckham a reflection of his own vision for a monarchy rooted in connection and community. As the ceremony ended, Beckham and the king shared a brief handshake. For a moment, two generations of British icons, one royal by birth, the other royal by merit, stood together in quiet respect. The sound of applause filled the chamber, echoing against the marble walls of Windsor. Outside, crowds gathered beyond the castle gates, waving flags, cheering as Beckham emerged with the title he had waited for so long. That day, Britain did not just celebrate a sportsman. It celebrated an ideal that greatness, in the eyes of the crown, is not inherited, but earned. In the days that followed, the image of Sir David Beckham kneeling before King Charles spread across the world. It appeared on front pages from London to Los Angeles, from Sydney to Singapore, the story of a footballer turned knight, a man transformed from global icon to royal honoree. For many Britons, it was more than just a ceremony. It was a reminder of unity in a time when the monarchy itself was under relentless scrutiny. The royal family had faced years of headlines, from personal scandals to questions of relevance. And now, amidst the shifting tides of public opinion, this single act radiated warmth, humility, and national pride. Public reaction was overwhelmingly emotional. In interviews outside Windsor, fans spoke through tears of joy. One elderly woman wrapped in a Union Jack scarf said, "We've watched him grow up. He deserves this more than anyone." A young boy, holding a football signed with Beckham's name, simply whispered, "He's my hero." But behind the adoration, a quiet conversation began about what this moment meant for the monarchy itself. According to royal analysts, King Charles's decision was strategic as much as it was symbolic. It was a statement that service to the crown no longer belonged solely to aristocrats or politicians, but to those who uplift Britain in every field. Beckham's honor bridged the gap between palace and people, between centuries of tradition and the energy of a modern nation. It also reflected Charles's vision for a more inclusive monarchy, one that recognized the heroes of daily life: nurses, scientists, artists, and athletes who carried Britain's name with dignity. In honoring Beckham, the king signaled that devotion could be worn not only in robes, but in sweat and effort, in years of discipline and dedication. Still, within certain royal circles, there were murmurs of caution. Some senior courtiers feared that the crown might risk diluting its mystique by embracing popular culture too closely. Others countered that this was precisely the evolution the monarchy needed to remain relevant in a world defined by accessibility and authenticity. As debates unfolded across television panels and opinion columns, Beckham remained silent. He appeared at a children's hospital days after his investiture, wearing the same modest smile, now paired with the quiet weight of a title he carried with grace. He did not speak of privilege or fame. He spoke of gratitude, of using the honor as a platform to continue helping others. Those who know him say the moment changed him subtly. There was a new gravity in his demeanor, a deepened sense of responsibility. In private, he told friends that the knighthood was not an ending, but a reminder to keep serving, to keep giving back. Meanwhile, inside the royal household, sources described King Charles as quietly pleased. He had managed to project a rare moment of unity, something that transcended generations, classes, and divisions. Even his critics, often skeptical of his choices, admitted that the gesture carried authenticity. Prince William and Princess Catherine were said to have congratulated Beckham personally, reinforcing the family's image of solidarity. It was reported that the Queen Consort, Camilla, praised the ceremony's dignity, remarking that it felt right, truly British. For the monarchy, the timing could not have been better. In an age when royal headlines often revolve around conflict, this was a story that made the world smile. It reminded Britain and the Commonwealth of what the crown could still represent: honor, service, and continuity. Scholars of royal history noted parallels to earlier centuries when monarchs knighted poets like Alfred Tennyson or scientists like Isaac Newton. Each act carried a message beyond the man, a reflection of what Britain valued most at that moment in time. In 21st century Britain, the choice of David Beckham said one thing clearly: that character still mattered. For younger generations, the image of a modern king honoring a modern hero felt transformative. It turned the monarchy from something distant into something personal, approachable, human, alive. And for Beckham himself, it was the closing of a long circle. From a boy kicking a ball in East London to standing before the King of England as a symbol of the very nation that once cheered his every goal. As the golden sun dipped behind the towers of Windsor, the echoes of applause slowly faded into the distance. Inside those timeless walls, another chapter of Britain's story had been written not with ink or crown, but with humility and grace. Sir David Beckham's knighthood was more than an honor. It was a bridge between the royal and the ordinary, between heritage and humanity. It reminded the nation that greatness is not found in titles or privilege, but in perseverance, devotion, and service to others. For King Charles, it was a declaration of intent. In honoring Beckham, he affirmed his vision of a monarchy that evolves one that celebrates not only the noble by birth, but the noble by action. In doing so, he strengthened the very foundation of his reign: a belief that the crown must reflect the country it serves. And for Beckham, the man behind the legend, it was a moment of stillness, a pause between the roar of the crowd and the quiet duty that follows. The title, Sir, will forever precede his name, but it is his actions, not his accolade, that will define the legacy he leaves behind. As night fell over the castle, the Union Jack waved softly in the evening breeze. Somewhere beyond its ramparts, a young boy kicked a football on a dimly lit street, dreaming, perhaps, of his own place in Britain's story. And that is where the true power of this moment lies, in its ability to inspire. Because in the end, every act of honor, royal or humble, reminds us of what it means to serve something greater than ourselves. And in that sense, the knighthood of Sir David Beckham was not just a tribute to one man, but to the enduring spirit of a nation. This is Royal Vault UK, where history meets humanity, and where every royal gesture reveals the soul of a kingdom still searching for its meaning in a modern world. If you enjoyed this story, remember to like, share, and subscribe to Royal Vault UK, your window into the hidden truths and timeless traditions behind the British crown.